I use your table to try and predict the price of MicroStrategy shares. Am I right? Is part one. Am I right in thinking your multiplier is a price elasticity factor based on expected supply squeeze at higher allocations? And how do you work it out? Two, based on your Bitcoin impact table, I've projected MicroStrategy prices, assuming it currently takes approximately 291 MicroStrategy shares to buy one Bitcoin, and that ratio stays constant. No, it doesn't. We'll get into that in a second. This gives me the projected MicroStrategy prices of 1,002, 2,175, 4,000, 6,200, and 9,100 for the 1 to 5% allocation scenarios. Do these figures look in line with your own calculations? Three, from 2020 to now, has MicroStrategy acquired to buy one Bitcoin change? Thanks. You are the best guy on the internet. Thank you so much. There's a lot to this question. I'm going to break it down a little bit different because everything is a moving target. There is no status quo, whatever, when you look at this beast. Now, one of the models, of course, that I've been running since 2020 is what I call the ARB model, which created the ARB cloud to understand, compared to Bitcoin, is it overvalued or undervalued? But everything changes all the time. The number of shares, the amount of Bitcoin they hold, Bitcoin price, the stock price, it's all over the place. The amount of debt, etc., the outstanding shares. Did I say that already? It's really difficult. So let's look at this for a second before we get into the other questions. First of all, the easy way to think about where the price could go. Well, let's talk about the shares first. One Bitcoin, one whole coin of MicroStrategy shares is 450.94 shares. Okay, that'll cost you $178,000. That's a lot. All right, so it's not 250, but I'll talk about the actual shares required if you eliminate the NAV premium. That'll be an interesting calculation. But if you look at this table here, you assume your Bitcoin price targets of 120, 140, 165. 165, by the way, is where I land based on Bitcoin tracking the M2 money supply. Global M2, by the way. And that could take us down to the bottom table of the NAV premium. Currently, the NAV premium is 1.50. So it's low. And the stock should be around $3.99 per the model. The actual live stock price is $3.95. Remember as well, this model is live. It pulls in real-time feeds. So the Bitcoin price has gone up while the stock market is closed. Therefore, the discrepancy is here. Okay, so just ignore that, but just imagine it's pretty close. So that's like NAV premium 1.5. If we go to a NAV premium of 2, the stock could be 532. If we go to a NAV premium of 2.5, the stock would be 665. All right. Now, Michael Saylor did buy, and he'll announce it first thing tomorrow. But I saw his bat signal, and he bought again. And he probably bought using STRC. So there's no ATM dilution, which is good for the stock price. But the question is, how high do we go? Now, all the way out to the future, if Bitcoin gets to $1 million and this thing becomes huge, expect the NAV premiums to come down close to 1. So you won't get these crazy NAV premiums in the future. Unless, of course, they completely rewire the entire financial market. Now, back to the other question, okay? The other thing that's so important, and this is 3 little charts to give you an idea of how things have changed over time. Let me walk you through them first. First of all, it's a big spaghetti chart. In blue, you've got the Bitcoin price, and you can see the bear there, the double top in 2021. Then the bear market of 2022, and then the climb with the volatility. Then in red, you've got the number of Satoshis per share, all right? So to calculate that, you calculate the amount of Bitcoin they have, you multiply it by 100 million, and you divide it by the number of shares. That's the Satoshis per share, which I've been tracking as well for years. And then in yellow is the shares required for one Bitcoin. But a different view of this is this. This is the Satoshis per share. And what's interesting about this is it keeps on climbing. We went through a spell there where it didn't climb that much. You know, it climbed a lot from August 2020 up until around late 2021. Then it was kind of flat, but that's the bear market. You know, the bear market with not a lot of buying, etc. But then it started going on a rampage again as of the time of the US presidential election. And since then, it's just gone ballistic. And because the NAV premium was high, they were able to sell a lot of ATM. and turned that into Bitcoin. And of course, Bitcoin went up too. And this is probably the most important one too. This is the number of shares required for one whole Bitcoin without any NAV premium. This assumes one share. If you bought one share of MicroStrategy, you get a bag of Satoshis. And this is what I call share accretion. This is what very few people actually get and how it's changed over time. So we went from needing 4,482 shares of MicroStrategy to get one Bitcoin in August 2020 to now just 524 shares. Again, you get a lot more Satoshis per share. And you see the way it happens in rampages, all the crazy buys, all the crazy ATMing. And that is basically how it works. Now, getting back to this, it gives you an idea of everything that changes, okay? The Bitcoin price changes. The amount that they buy changes. The Satoshis per share changes. The price of MicroStrategy changes. The amount of shares change. Everything changes. So it's a complete moving target. So to be able to predict how many shares, how big their Bitcoin bag will be in 2030, et cetera, is a fool's errand. Doesn't make any sense. But you can directionally figure out exactly where we're going from this. So, Mr. Pillman, I hope that helps.